Hey guys, it's Surya and today is Monday, which means it's time for another tutorial. Today I'm going to be teaching you how to solve the gear ball in brief, no full explanation. So this is actually the same as the Gear Cube. I don't actually have a Gear Cube. This is a Gear Cube Xtreme. I'm just showing it to you. This should just show you how it looks. Yes, the tutorial is the exact same. The only difference is that a gear ball is shaped like a ball. So if you, I don't know, took a pump into a Gear Cube and just like inflated air into it, it would look like this. So hope you enjoy the video. So at first glance, this cube looks really complicated and it's hard to make sense of this movement here. But as you start playing around with it, you notice that it's pretty similar to the 3x3. These parts are centers, these are corners, and these are edges. Even though these gears here rotate, you notice that these two tiny little pieces above and below the gear never move, and they always stick with the gear no matter how you move them. So this is pretty useful. No matter which orientation the gears in, we can always know which side of the gear is what by just looking at these pieces. And also you'll notice that these opposite sides, not the middle layer, these opposite sides only move in double moves. They never move once, they always move twice. So this means that each color can only be messed up with the side opposite to it. So if we ever can't find a piece of this side, we always look on the opposite side. That makes things way easier. So now that we know that, let's get into how to solve it. So now that this is jumbled, it looks really complicated. So let's start with one side. Now I usually just pick a side which really tends to stand out. There's no white here, so I'm just going to pick yellow since it really stands out. So first we're going to solve the 4 yellow corners. Now the good thing about this gear ball is that we don't need a center at all. We just choose any one yellow corner and we can start around that. The center is really unnecessary. So let's start with this one. It's just random. I picked a random one. You can pick whatever you want. So this is yellow, purple, and blue. Now we need to match it with one of its own adjacent corners. So we either need a yellow and blue edge or a yellow and purple edge. Now let's just search for a yellow and purple edge. So it's not anywhere here. This is a yellow, blue, and green, red edge corner. We need a yellow and purple corner, which means that it's on the opposite side. It can't be anywhere else. So let's check here. Is it this one? Yes, it is. So we need this piece to be over there. Now how do we do that? Now we could try to rotate this. That would disturb this piece as well. So what do? We just move this side twice. So now this piece is over there, and now we just move this layer twice. So that joins these two pieces. Now the moment we've joined two adjacent corners, we can just solve the rest, because the moment you join these two, even the other two get joined. As you can see, these two have been joined. Now we just need to match them up and solve them. Now sometimes you're going to get this kind of a situation where you have two yellow corners here and two yellow corners here. Now in that situation, you just move this layer twice, and then you just move this layer twice to just solve it. And as you can see, they match. So now that we've done that, let's go into solving the edges. Now we just look at what situation we have with these edges. Don't worry about the centers, they'll line up eventually. Now let's just look at the first situation we can have. Now we could have a situation like this. Now by the way, when you're looking at the edges, don't look at these gears. They're really like twisty and stuff, and as I mentioned earlier, these pieces always hang around with these gears. So always look at this. So if you have a yellow here and a blue here, it means that in a solved state, this would be the yellow side of this edge and this would be the blue side of this edge. So let's always go by that. Okay, you can take your time and look at it, but don't forget to do so. Don't get confused and stuff. Okay, so now we have a situation where these edges are on the opposite side. We have a yellow here and a yellow here. They need to go right here, right on the opposite side. Now that situation is relatively easy. As I said, when we move this layer twice, this moves once. So for this to move twice, this layer needs to move 4 times. And what happens when a 4-sided cube / ball moves 4 times? Basically nothing. It just comes back to its initial state. So that's good. Let's use that. Now all we need to do is move this 4 times. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. That's it. Come into place, but it's not in its exact place. This is a white and a green in a white and blue side. So we need it to be switched. So before we do something like that, we first need to align these edges properly. This piece cannot be right under where it needs to go because it needs to move twice, and if it moves twice from here, it's going to go here. So we need it to move here, which means it needs to start, let's just backtrack, it needs to start here. So these two pieces need to be exchanged. How do we do that? Well, that's easy, just rotate this twice. That's all. Now that we have this, let's try it again. This side 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's it. There you go, it matches. So that's the first situation. If you ever find a piece, if you find two opposite edges in their places but exchanged like this, just do what I did earlier. Remove them, move this layer twice and bring them in. So that would solve it. Now let's go into the next situation where we can have edges like this. You'd see them on the opposite side this way, but when you try to solve them, they end up like this. They're not exactly solved, but they're not exactly jumbled either. And if you see closely, that's because they're in their places but flipped. Sometimes this edge can be there, that can be there. It's basically the same, but the point is they're flipped. The yellow's here and the red's here. So in that situation, here's what you do. You first bring both of them to the bottom layer. Let's do that, moving it 4 times. Now you just bring this piece under where it needs to go. So this piece cannot be here. This is a yellow and a pink, purple. So we need this here. So just move the bottom layer twice, it comes there. Now here's the algorithm we do. Right side twice, down clockwise by the way. Bottom layer down twice clockwise, right side clockwise twice, down anti-clockwise twice, and right side anti-clockwise twice. That's it. And there you go, it's solved. So now let's move on to the next step, which is solving this middle layer. Now the first situation you can get is something like this. If you look at the corners and this part, these parts, you'll see that you have 3 separate strips, none of which match. I mean, sometimes you'll have some that match and some that don't. Looks like this. Now in this situation, you just keep rotating this layer until it gets solved. Usually it's just 1 or 2 times. There you go. That solves it. But sometimes you can get a slightly weirder situation. It looks kind of like this, where if you match this part, this does not match, and if you try to match that, these two don't match, and that's because these two centers are flipped. So in that situation, you just keep these 2 dots above and below you, and you keep these 2 bands to the left and right of you, and you do this algorithm. Right side clockwise twice, up clockwise 4 times, 1, 2, 3, 4, right side anti-clockwise twice. That's it. That solves it. Now that we have that, let's go into solving these gears. So now when solving these gears, the first thing we do is we solve these 4, and then we solve these 4, and then these 4. So we do it like that. So let's start with, I don't know, these 4. So we just need to see which direction one of the gears needs to turn in, and that'll be the direction the rest of them need to turn in. That's how it works. So let's just look at this one. This needs to move clockwise, right? For it to be solved. The purple is here. That needs to be here. Yellow's here. Needs to be here. So that's in a clockwise direction. And now what you need to do in a clockwise direction is move the right side anti-clockwise 8 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's it. Let's move on to the next one. Here, each of them need to move anti-clockwise. In the previous one, it needed to move clockwise. Here, it's anti-clockwise. So in this situation, you move the right side clockwise 8 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's it. Let's look at the last one. Clockwise. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And that's how you solve the gear ball. Congratulations, you've solved it. I hope you had fun solving this.